What is up, people of the internet, people around the world? Welcome to the Belvista Studios Show. We're grateful for you to join us. Today's special guest is Amanda.
Hello.
Hello. What is up, chick? How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's nice to be back in the Belvista Studios.
Yeah.
Haven't been here since last year, I think. I did a session with you last year. Yeah.
Yeah. You've had a transition from work to you're now an entrepreneur, owning your own design studio, taking on clients, looking for business.
Yes.
How's life been? Happy?
Yeah, it's been, holy crap, very, very crazy. It's been 2 months-ish, or maybe 6-7 weeks since I've left my full-time corporate gig, my dream company. And now I'm venturing out on my own, designing my own lifestyle the way that I want it, which is mixing in some nice digital learning solutions whilst doing art on the side.
I love it.
Yeah, so it's been fun.
Cool. Well, everyone out there, if you want to join her wait list because she's a busy lady, go for it. You should join Belvista Studios wait list as well.
Plug in for both.
plug. Hold to action. Insert here. All right. So the Belvista Studio Show is about getting people in the industry that are doing cool things. Let's see your work and then be inspired so that we as practitioners can lift our game. Today, you, Amanda, are going to take us through some infographics. You're going to show us some work and you're going to break down the process. So I'm going to hand it over to you to take control of the Belvista Studio Show and inspire us, lady.
Awesome. All right. So I think something about me in terms of my solutions that I provide to people that I talk to, stakeholders and whatnot, I love to give them a range of options. And one option that I tend to fall back on quite a bit is infographics. I love infographics. I think it's a great way to visually articulate complex content, such as, data through to, really chunky paragraphs that you can break that down and make it nice and visual and clean, just to keep it simple for your end users, whoever it may be. And sometimes you don't need an e-learning, I think if it's something around how to create, conversations around performance management. And if it's 5 clear steps, you can do that in an infographic as opposed to an e-learning. And this is something that they can take away as well. So I'll probably take you guys through some of my samples that I've done in the past, and then my thinking process, where I get inspiration. And if you don't like to create your own infographic, there's some really cool free infographic builders that you can replicate the same look and feel. I'm all about being efficient. Yeah, because sometimes, we don't have time to sit there for 5 hours designing something in bloody Illustrator or Canva or whatever tool you use. You can just cherry pick what you like as a pre-template and populate your content.
I like it a lot. And any of the resources that are mentioned throughout the show today will be in the description of the video.
Awesome. All right, so I'm just going to share my screen. Screen 1, share. Oh, okay. So this is, I'll get back to this. Sorry. Let me just go through here first.
Tease us then.
I teased you guys. So this is something so simple that I've created inside Rise. So I've designed the infographic in Illustrator using a mixture of just icons that I found on Flat Icon. I wanted to take through, a technical team on how to ensure that we configure safely within Lend-Lease, which was my previous organization. But it's around, I've received this piece of content in a 3-page document and it was just black and white with some titles. And they just wanted me to whack it in here on Rise as, a scroll down reading text. But I went down another route of just really breaking up the content in an infographic. This is a great way to use an infographic in your e-learning if you guys are keen on using Rise or Storyline. In Storyline, if I were to develop this in Storyline, I would probably add the icons as an individual image and then create a click or a hover and then have the infographics content populate and pop up as well. So it just depends. You can play around with that.
That's pretty cool. How does that respond if you were to put it on mobile? Because you got the little lines and stuff going out.
Let's have a look. Damn it, Kim, why do you have to question my mobile development? Now I'm stuck. I don't know anymore.
This is a test.
It's not bad. So before I develop a Rise module, I do ask the audience if they use mobile or prefer desktop. And this module was only going out to 180 IT managers, and they are always in front of a computer. So they didn't go down the route of playing around with mobile. So it's okay on tablet, but phone wise, I think I'm just going to say yes.
Well, it's good because your little white lines that are going out, because I was curious with those, the throbbing circles move and would the lines match up? But it looks like they are.
Yeah, so I know for a fact that with Rise, they just scale the image down to what it needs to be and they keep the button static. I haven't had an issue with that when I'm testing other modules with labeled graphic. But no, this is a nice, neat way to play around with an infographic inside your Rise modules, I think.
Good job. Yeah, all right. I like it.
And then another cyber module that I played with, again, this is probably just a simple flat illustration, again, using a mixture of icons.
Yeah.
I had some more samples that I wanted to show you guys, but it was on my work laptop and I didn't get a snippet of that, so I can't share that, sorry.
Oh, what a tease.
But what I can do is take you through my development process. So the first thing that I usually do is look at how I am going to map out the structure or wireframe the infographic. And my personal preference is landscape because I feel that, I could add in more content in there. But, standard stock infographics tend to be quite portrait and long, just depends on what you like. But this is a great website that I used previously to just help gather my thoughts and map out what I want to include in the infographic. So such as headings, visuals, placement of text, how much text I can bung on the page, through to, color blocking certain areas to highlight certain things, focusing on certain topics or content pieces through highlighting and contrasting. And if there's any, areas within the content that's given to me that I could identify, maybe it's a piece of data or fact, I would highlight that in the wireframe so I know that it's there. So after I finish wireframing what I feel and think fits best for this infographic, I then go and get some inspiration. So this is what I wanted to show you guys, sorry, my flow. But I like to design three types of infographics. The first one being quite flat, illustrative, really bright, bold colors. This is my preferred method of designing infographics because I just love bright things and colorful things. But sometimes it might not sit well with my stakeholders because they wanted something a bit more professional or a bit more icon-like. Then I would go in and just do icons like I did before in my cybersecurity stuff that I showed you. So the second style of infographics that I like as well is just using nice boxes, a mixture of boxes and lines and icons, clean icons to add that little bit of creative design flair to it.
Cool. Can you please zoom in on those just a little bit so people can see the detail?
All right, Control+, Control+, Control+. All right, can you see it?
Yeah, that looks good.
Nice. So flat illustrations through to a mix of icons and boxes and shapes, playing around with the shapes that you already have in your Illustrator software tools, or even you can recreate this in Storyline and make it interactive if you have a nice slide there that you want to focus on.
Yeah.
Oh, and numbers. A lot of my infographics have large, big numbers if it's clean steps or a process. I think that's a great way to play around with your numbers.
That's cool. And so you've just grabbed these from Google or Pinterest or something like that?
Yes, I'll take you through my
Okay,
Pinterest
pause. Everyone settle
escapade.
down.
But yes, it's on Pinterest.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's coming.
It's coming. It's coming.
I do see how I like that. Yeah, you can kind of pick apart. That's going to work for this topic, or that's going to work for this kind of client. So I really like. It's cool. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's because I think at the end of the day, as learning designers, right, we need to cater for our various audiences. And sometimes naturally I'm more of an illustrative person. I love bright, colorful illustrations, but that might not sit well with the topic or might not sit well with the client. So then I would rework that and do something a bit more clean. So this is an example of something that I would do for, let's say, if someone's really corporate or the content's pretty bland but needs some love and needs some magic, then I would use beautiful, clean, emotionally connecting visuals in the back. I would then make that a bit darker and use white linear icons. So in this style, I think it just enhances the content a bit more. Rather than reading a blank paragraph, I could rework it and make it a nice infographic with some lines coming out, some icons to highlight certain sections of the content.
Yeah. When you say an emotionally connecting image, what would you say are the characteristics for people to make that association and then go do it themselves?
Absolutely. I have another board that I'll explain to you. Okay. So when I say visually visual connecting visuals, what I mean is using visuals that are relevant to the topic or out of context, but to context. What I mean by that is before you even reach into finding the right images and visuals, you need to identify, mood words and descriptive words. So for example, calm associates to plants, nature, adventures. Using those images, it's out of context, but it's to context, which is calm.
Yeah.
So a lot of my leadership development stuff, I like to do adventure kind of style or like hiking kind of style, mentoring. I did a mentoring program and the theme for that was, hiking boots, compass gears through to, forest and learning and growing. So you're taking, it's out of context, but it's to context, to the descriptive words. Yeah, so that's my thinking pattern and what I like to use in a lot of my learning.
Yeah. So it doesn't always, I love that. It's kind of like it's storytelling through your imagery. Because if I think about coaching traditionally or like automatically, we go to, well, I'm going as a designer to person sitting at a desk with another person on the other desk and they're having a conversation and trying to find as many bloody images as possible that represent that traditional coaching situation. But what you're trying to do is make an association, which is your context, but not in context, but to context. And you're saying, I'm going to tell a story through something very different, but it still makes sense to the learning outcomes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's such a fun technique. I picked this up from a designer ages ago, like years ago. I went to one of her workshops. I forgot where it was. I think it was at SiteMinder, but she was explaining to me, the psychology behind using these visuals where you're actually allowing your audience to focus on the content and let the visuals tell a story. You're absolutely right. And let them associate to all of these mood words that you've already provoked and triggered right at the beginning. So it sets the context and the scene.
I love it. I feel so liberated to move away from my stock.
Yes, move away from your stocks, do more adventure-y stuff. Like, I love that. Or even like animals or even lights. I did a module around, what was it? Personality, like similar to DISC profile. And I did lights. The whole module was just around like light bulbs, lights. I don't know why. I just had this fascination with lights, but it worked. Like it was well received. It was weird, but it worked.
That's really cool.
So
you were back on your infographics showing the 3 styles.
Yeah. So that's my 3 styles that I go to and I categorize. I think it's easy, but if you want to be more creative and go down the route of, I don't know, going through the gradient or the 3D animated objects in your infographic, you can go for it. But I keep it simple to myself of just flat illustrations, mixture of icons and shapes, or clean visuals.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
So after I grabbed my inspiration and I know what I want to do, I then go to my good old pal Pinterest and I start cherry picking. Illustrations, let's say infographic illustrations. Now, the reason why I use Pinterest, and I know a lot of people do use Pinterest, is because it's a whole repository of everything that you need in a nutshell. So like for me here, you know, highlighting the heading of the infographic with you know, matching that up with a nice illustration that you found. And that little slight slant of a line in the heading is an awesome touch. I would use that. And look, there's a graph there, or they can, you know, plug in different illustrations from different angles, or, you know, you can see here that they're using circles with an icon inside it with minimal text. So I'll be just cherry picking different styles with the infographic, getting more inspiration to then start mapping out, you know, what I need in terms of vectors through to icons and visuals. Yeah. There's a whole range. There's a whole bunch of stuff on here that, you know, you can get inspiration from, guys. Like it's like the Google of design.
It's really cool.
And then after that, I'll probably go and source my illustrations from free website providers that have illustrations and vectors that are readily available that I can just download and plug in. Or if you don't want to go down the route of designing your own infographic and you want templates, you just gotta type in infographic and bam, it's all there for you.
Wow.
It's all free as well. The cool thing about Free Pick is there are a lot of free stuff. I've had, you know, a couple of my stakeholders when I used to work at Lend-Lease in the sustainability team, they would just download like these vectors and just delete stuff that they don't need and add in their own icons. So this can be a nice little template and framework that you can use, and you can just go onto flat icon and add in, you know, custom icons that you want, sustainability. And there's a range here of stuff that you can get if it's, you know, nice flat illustrations through to just linear icons. You can add that in there.
That's cool. So those ones,
yeah.
Do you pay for the licenses, or you're using the free ones?
So for me personally, I pay for the license, which is around $11 a month. But when I didn't have a license, I got away with downloading a lot of free stuff. Yeah. So the cool thing about Free Pick is there are a lot of free infographics. So unless there's a little crown there, it means you have to pay for it. But I would always filter free, vectors, and then I type in my infographic. Even some of my client work now that I'm doing, I use free stuff because it's nice. It just depends on what purpose you're designing for.
And I think just for people to be conscious of with any of the sites is to be really careful around the licensing agreement. So when you clicked on one, the download, what was really nice about bring it up, it tells you what you can do, right? So there we're looking at it, you know, for you can use it on the paid one. Obviously on this one, it is like for commercial and personal projects. So what you need to be really careful about is where you can use it. Can you sell it? Or like, for example, a really good example is you can download the image and put it into a RISE course, and then you give that and you send the copy of that course to the client and they use it. Now, if they love that image and they're like, we want it to go on a job aid that we create ourselves in-house later on and use that image to go across to have the theme continuing, they have to go and get that image themselves from the site. Because if they copy it from your resource, depending on the licensing, that's actually like copyright issues. So make sure you're very clear on, and they're getting better. It's not like reams and reams of terms and conditions. Like you see here what you can use it for. And so just be careful that you're checking that, because you don't want to get in trouble where you get sued for copyright because you haven't used things properly.
Oh, that's a good thing to know. I'm going to just add that down because I've just been like, yeah, it's free. It's open source. Oh, no. Guys, read the fine
There's a
print.
big difference between open source and like being able to
License,
who
yeah.
has right to use it. Yeah.
Guys,
Cool.
read the T's and C's, always. So if you don't want to pull apart a infographic Illustrator file and design it yourself, there's some pretty cool and awesome and free infographic builders.
OMG, tell us more.
So this site is awesome only because I love their templates. They have a range of things. And sometimes when clients come and they ask me, oh, can you create an infographic? I'm like, you know what, you can create it yourself. I'll show you how. And then I give them these sites, which works out to be so much cheaper because I think everyone should be able to get access and create their own assets.
I love the art style on this one. I'm excited so far.
Let me see if
I'll fill in the blank space here. I'd like to
I'm sorry,
joke, but I don't have one. Can you multitask?
Okay, there's another
it's loaded.
one. Phew. All right, I'll let that load on the sideline. But another site that I think is pretty neat is Venngage. But look at all these amazing templates, and you can just recreate, add your own, upload your own illustrations, use their structure that they already have. But it's a great way to just play around and experiment with what works, and you find your style, and then you just copy that and move that over to the next one. But I think with infographics, it's all about just getting the right inspiration to suit what problem you're trying to solve. If it's trying to communicate or articulate a process to your audience, know that this infographic will need to have clear steps as opposed to one visual. So the infographic needs to make sense for the audience. But yeah, this is what I do. That's my development process. I just get inspiration. I grab the right illustrations or vectors or images, and I just lay that on a page.
Like it. I know in your last episode, show links, people, in the description, you also shared way more resources that will help people as well. So I encourage you to click the link and go get all. I think there was like over 30 resources shared on like where to get vectors and all that kind of stuff. So I encourage you guys to cut it out. I have a question.
Go for it.
So an infographic is, you got minimal space, right? You're trying to make something happen in one piece, on one piece of paper. How do you identify the text? Any tips for getting the right information onto that one page?
Yeah. I think for me, it's just around stripping back. Most of the time when you receive content, it's a lot of fluff. I think as learning designers, we need to, know how to take a step back and holistically look at the content to map that out and just chunk it down to, headings or specific actions or practical tips. I always look at a piece of content and say, okay, if I'm a learner, what I want to get out of this, is it something that I can use? Is it something that I can apply? Is it something that will help me identify something? And then from there, you then rework and massage that piece of content to something that's more applicable and practical for your end audience. That's how it's been working for me. I just like to keep it simple. Because I usually get content that reams down to, 10, 15 pages worth through to 300 slides. So it does take me time to digest. And I think, I'm all for architecturing information and making sure that we tie that back to learning outcomes and objectives. And I think that's so important before you start anything. Identify the learning objectives. Like, what do you want the learner to get out of this? Or what are the key pain points and how you can help them create some practical outcomes so they can action that. So it's around having those thoughts in the back of your mind to break that up and break it into topic titles and then chunk size content, make it conversational, no more corporate speak, conversation.
That's very cool. So you're telling us, Amanda, that if someone sent us a 300-page PowerPoint through your instructional design process, that could turn into a one-pager infographic.
Oh, absolutely. I turned, and there's this bloody infographic that I really want to show you guys, but I can't find it. I was trying to scour around my drive, but I had a manager reach out to me and do a bribery and corruption e-learning module. And I was looking at the content and it was around 20 pages, but it was all policy driven. And realistically, all the user needs to know is how to identify bribery, what are the impacts for them and the impacts for the organization if they were at breach or were identified, and the laws around that. Everything else is policy where they could just click a link and read it in their own time. It's not something that you should be sitting there and absorbing. Yeah. So I condensed around 20 pages worth of content into 1-page infographic. And it's more around me pulling apart, okay, key headings, titles, what happens if X, Y, and Z. If I'm a learner, these are the things I need to know. Top 3 things to top 5 things to top points. Compensating content with a visual or one graphic to tell a picture, to tell a story, as opposed to, having 5 fluffy sentences. You're having one visual that explains it in a nutshell. So that, to me, it is possible. It's not impossible. Likewise, if it's not an infographic, it might be a explainer video or a short animation, a beyond animation, or a nice presentation slide Camtasia video. Just depends on what your development tool is, but I'm trying to keep it simple. But it's not impossible. I think anything is possible where we have 30 minutes to 45 minutes to really experience a learning module, but really out of that 30-45 minutes, you're only probably going to remember 2 to 3 things. Let's be honest now. Unless there's some practical takeaways out there that I can download afterwards and reference back after my learning. That's where behavioral change happens, and that's where your applying learning happens after. That's just my thinking, my perspective. I'm so sorry for learning designers out there who, don't believe that way or don't operate that way, but that's just how I've been developing in the past, and it works for my audience.
And I love that, and thank you for sharing that, because I think it does show that it is possible. And I guess what I'd like to do is encourage the people watching this, the next time you start a project, as part of your process, challenge yourself to just create an infographic to begin with. So a clear objective and the actions you need your learner to take. This is what I'm summarizing from Amanda. And those actions need to be 5 or less. So you get 20 pages of a PowerPoint, make a 1-page infographic. By doing that challenge, you will, even if you end up doing an e-learning course afterwards, by taking on that practice and that activity will help with clarifying that you are hitting the need to know and that learning objective and changing behavior. And I really believe that will stretch you to take your instructional design skills to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you do that, 20 pages down to 1 page, you've literally summarized to a T what that module and that learning experience is. So you've done yourself a favor, I guess.
Definitely. I have another question.
Go for it.
Okay, so stakeholders, like it can happen where client customer comes to you and they go, hey, Amanda, we need like e-learning, or we need training on this, right? And their perception of what training is a 20-minute e-learning, a half-day face-to-face. What specifically, because if they come to you with that expectation, it's very hard to adjust their thinking that an infographic may solve the problem and it's 1 page and they're like, no, like this is really important training and we must have an e-learning that's 20 minutes long on this. What specific things would you say to that stakeholder to make them appreciate that the infographic will still get the same results that they're hoping to achieve?
Yeah, so I had this same conversation with my bribery and corruption module, because that was the initial response when I did recommend an infographic. What it took me, I actually then did, okay, no worries. I'll let me just collate my thoughts and I'll gather a document to provide some reasonings as to why I'm going down the route of an infographic as opposed to an e-learning. So what I did was, the expectation that they've had in their mind was a 20-30 minute experience, but really the core learning objectives. And I think this is where us as learning peeps, we need to map and really illustrate that learning objectives help shift behavior and help get you to, help users do their job, and that ties back to performance. And then you can measure that as well. If the measurement is increasing awareness through asking on the spot randomly down the track 1 month after you completed the module, how do you identify bribery and corruption? And they'll be like, oh, I know. That's where you're really changing behavior through an infographic, because it's right there in the face every single day. So that's exactly what I did. I just did a comparison between the pros and cons of having an eLearn versus an infographic, the results that it could potentially have. And I also reached out to some of the, the users or the learners, just 2 to 3 learners across the business that have interacted with that content before, and their experience. And their experience was, it was so boring, the content's so long, we didn't need all that information. So again, we're not developing for the stakeholder, but we're developing for the learners. And that's something that's so important, guys. Yeah.
I love it.
Do that.
And I think that goes back to the challenge that you're all going to take on for your next thing, is do the infographic yourself to help synthesize your thinking. Present that back to the client, because that's really good validation of, are we hitting the objective, the project objective? And then they might go, hey, that's actually it. Just make it look pretty.
Yeah, exactly.
So
You'll be surprised.
Yeah. I love it. Well, I just love that you're like showing what's possible. And it's just like, you make it sound easy, and you make it sound easy because it is. It's just we're having different conversations.
Yeah.
Or we're just not being an order taker. We're being the expert, which is, we are a learning designer and this is the best outcome for our learners. So let me do my thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes, like, we can always experiment with all of these new tools and whatnot, but bring your stakeholders on a journey as well. And that's something that I've learned. It might be nice and shiny and awesome for you, but it might not be for them. So take them on that journey to understand why it might be beneficial for them in using this solution as opposed to a traditional solution.
Yeah. Okay. I need to look up something. Do you have anything? I'm going to give you a challenge. You've excited me for something.
No.
If I can find it on time. But if you have any final words or advice on infographics, go for it.
Go and experiment, guys. Go have fun, get inspiration. The best way to learn how to create an infographic is to copy and have a little side project on the side, and take something that's complex at work or something that you're working on and try to strip it down, make it easy, make it simple. Yeah.
Oh, I like it. This I would say what do you call it? So I found my challenge. I'm making it up in the moment. So bear with me, viewers at home. Amanda, you'll be fine. Just sweat a little bit. So an infographic is an example of just-in-time training. Do you like just-in-time training? Think it's any good? Would you encourage people to be doing it?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. For me, if I was a people leader and I needed a quick fact guide on how to have career conversations with my team, I'd love to have something there ready for me to access with firing questions that I can ask.
Cool. Okay.
Or for just in time.
First of all, so infographic is an example of just in time. Fire off some more examples of just in time learning that people could be inspired to go experiment with themselves.
Oh, okay. Knowledge bases. Chatbot knowledge bases. So instead of using a chatbot to filter conversation, get a chatbot that's a pure knowledge base, because people can access the information much better. I have this thing about chatbots where sometimes it's all fluff and conversation, but someone just wants content. So get that integrated into an app. Another just in time is, God damn it, Kim, why do you do this to me? Infographics, more infographics.
Yes. Okay, what if I give you a just-in-time resource and you tell us how it could be applied for training? It can be any topic, it can be any behavior that you want to train. Okay. So the first one that I had was chatbot. So ding, 10 points. Done. An audio soundbite.
Ooh, QR codes. File. Yeah. QR codes where it's visible. Either, let's say we're working remotely from home on a work laptop, there should be on the back of the screen, let's say a wallpaper, wellness exercises that you can do. Here's a QR code that's on the back. Just take your phone out and scan it and do a quick exercise, or listen to an audio bite on mindfulness.
That's cool. I like it.
That's what I would
do. Intranet.
Intranet's a hard one because I've always struggled with intranets when I have so many devices and I can't log in. So perhaps okay, for anyone working within an organization, this is just a pro tip. If I had an employee card, I'd love to have a QR card on there or something that would just scan and take me directly to the intranet by default. No questions asked. Single sign on to my phone. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. What about augmented reality?
Oh, fun. Augmented reality, I would ask everyone to download the app first, and for any image that has like a marker, whether it be sent via an email or even mail, to have a hard copy, they'll be able to take their phone out, scan it, and experience the augmented reality.
That's cool. Any apps that you think would make a life in an organization easier?
An app. I'm a very huge HR advocate. So for me, it's just having a source of truth for all employee resources. You'll be surprised as amount to a lot of organizations don't have that, or they have it all scattered. Yep. Just one source of truth in a nice intuitive app where it's fun, colorful. Chatbot. That's why for me, a chatbot solution with an integrated knowledge base is perfect to solve that problem.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for playing that little game.
Oh, that was hard.
I appreciate it.
My brain.
Well, it's good. You're demonstrating your skills. You're a very skilled learning designer, and very grateful just to be inspired by you.
Oh, thanks, girl. I'm always inspired by Miss Kim Tuohy. Learned so much from you over the years.
Well, we'll have our love fest off camera, but thank you everyone for watching. Big shout out to Amanda for inspiring today. Let her know in the comments what added value, what you appreciated, something that you're going to take away and put into practice, because I think when we share knowledge like this, it's always very rewarding to know that someone got value from it and that it has changed your behavior. So please, as the learner, the viewer, do that, and also share this with anyone that you believe will add value. Maybe that's your boss, so that you can help influence them. Hello, boss, now watching this on me. To do infographics for learning, or any of the other just-in-time sources that was like solutions that we've spoken about today, as an alternative where e-learning or face-to-face is not required to change behavior in the way that you desire. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, everyone, for watching. This has been the Belvista Studios Show. Until next time, be awesome.
See you guys.
Play with llamas. Be friends with llamas.
Yes.